Was I going to call?
Sorry.
That's okay. Was I supposed to call on somebody?
Does anybody have any report from the what do you call it, that bead bazaar we had? Did that you want to make an announcement about that?
Well, I had a great time. It was really good. There were lots of vendors. I bought beads. Oh, what a surprise. And I love doing that. That's just so much fun. Clothing, who cares? But it's like going on a retreat. Do I care what I wear? No, I only care about the beads I have packed. That's the fun of life.
And our fundraising efforts were the best we've ever had.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's great.
And as you probably know, or maybe you don't, we empty the library from the textile center because no one ever goes there and it's hardly ever open, or it certainly hasn't been open when people I know have gone. So we're selling all those books, and they're really, a lot of them are just pretty old, and things have changed. Even the beads have changed. Okay, I'm done. So
hey, could I add to that note about the library? You'll see
too, so that we can hold on. Where are you? Where are you?
I don't know.
She's on the second row as far as I'm concerned.
Spotlight. There you go.
Hey, I just wanted to add the little ad that we've got for our fundraiser shows a book, and it's got a stamp withdrawn. And that's one of the reasons that we've taken our books out of the library. Apparently we only had so much shelf space at the Textile Center library, and they just sort of, without our understanding what they were doing, they would take books out of the library and store them in the basement, and they would stamp them withdrawn. So when you see books with that on it, that's what it means. The textile library just needed space, so they took the books out and got rid of them.
I questioned that too. Is like, what's that mean?
Yeah, that's what it means. It just means that the textile center decided that, you know, and all of the magazines that we had at the textile center were stored in another building. So it was really useless for us to have them there.
Well, that was obviously a good move, you know, and better to sell them and have them out in the public in circulation, doing some good, being useful,
right?
And packed away in boxes in a basement somewhere.
Correct. So a bunch of them we sold at the Twin City Bead Bazaar, and then we are selling the ones that were in better condition and more elaborate books at the fundraiser, which is online. We posted the ad, and we've started a photo album, so you can see the different pieces that are in there, and they're all on the Upper Midwest Bead Society public Facebook page. And then the bidding and everything will start on November 15th through the 20th. And there is a buy it now price. So then you just pay full price and take it, and it's yours. You don't have to bid. Otherwise, there's bidding in the comments. And at the end of the week, who's ever the highest bidder will win it. And so then Hannah has been taking photos along with Roberta and gathering, and then we're going to just be shipping it off to whoever the winners are. The winners will be paying for the shipping as well. And so it's just quick and easy. So just share, tell your friends. It's a great Christmas present plus charity as well. So all kinds of things are being donated, from beads to kits, tutorials, finished jewelry, books, all kinds of things. So check out the photo album and see all the different stuff and put it on your holiday list. We also have coming up that weekend, in 2 weeks from now on Saturday, it is the 19th. We have our Let's Bead Live Saturday, and we have Madison Haller from Rubinski Works will be teaching us how to photograph our jewelry. And And then we have, she'll also be teaching us how to do posting and how to do social media. If you don't follow her, go to Instagram and look up Rubinski Works, Madison Holler. She's amazing. She spoke to our Bead Society a couple years ago, and so now she's doing others. And then we also have, for besides our speaker tonight, Barbara Ellis, she will also be having a trunk show on, whoops, I was supposed to screen share that, not, whoops, oh, no, not that. Oh my gosh, here we go. There we go. Barbara Ellis will be having a trunk show that day too, from 2 to 3 o'clock. So that way you can stock up your supplies as well. She makes all this wonderful raku, and you'll hear about all sorts of wonderful things tonight. And so we have Barbara Ellis. She is originally from Chicago, Illinois, and graduated from Ringling School of Art and Design in Sarasota, Florida. She has received many awards for her work as a licensed interior designer, as a creator, and a creator of fine jewelry. Barbara also creates and designs her own beaded jewelry pieces and patterns. Currently, she has her beaded spats on display for the grand opening of the Museum of Beadwork in their Wings and Stings competition. She's been published in Beadwork magazines several times with her necklaces and bracelet designs. She participates in Toho Challenge events, I think, every single year. She's been a featured designer a couple times too, where several pieces are on display. Barbara will speak about tonight her work all in raku and jewelry and all sorts of wonderful things. So we're so excited to take it away. And so I am going to remove my spotlight and take it away, Barbara.
All right. Thank you so much. I guess she gave me an introduction, so I don't really need to brag about myself. I think she hit all the points. Probably been beading over 20 years. I did do it while I was an interior designer, kind of on the side. I live in Florida, so it's about an hour later than you guys have it. And I first experienced my time with beading while I was an interior designer. There was a store in town that opened up. Someone said, oh, a bead store opened. And so I jammed out at lunch and went and saw it. And I was wearing some of my pieces. And the lady said, can you teach? And I said, no, I don't think so. And she said, oh, come on, you can try it. So I gave in and I started teaching. And I think that was probably 20 years ago. So I have a real big love for teaching. I like sharing this art. And I teach every week at my local art league, and I travel with the Embroidery Guild of America. So I teach quite a bit with them as well. And my focal thing about speaking tonight is going to be a little bit about raku. So many times when I'm teaching, I have to find a piece that is kind of my focal piece. And sometimes when you rely on manufacturers such as Swarovski and some of these other wonderful vendors, they're discontinued. You can't control your supply. So I decided that I should start making my own supply. Working for the art league that I started with, they had a Raku and You evening event where you would go and you would pick a vase off the shelf. You would paint it with some glaze and you would eat pizza and drink wine while this guy by the name of Steve would go fire it. And the process was incredible. So I went for this evening event and I just kept thinking, I don't want a vase. I want some beads. You know, I want some things that I can bead around. So I've become great friends with him and he basically does all my firing for me. And I give him big vats of beads, which I think I will share a little presentation. And I can kind of show you the process of what I go through with it. I think, no, that's not it. Where is it? Wrong one. This one, yes. Okay, so this is a little bit of a presentation I put together, which kind of shows some of the pieces of raku that I do. This first page gives a little bit of a discussion. It originated in Japan. They used a very traditional technique of firing it in the ground. And we Americanized it or Westernized it and we do a little bit different process with it. It's not in the ground, but it's in a furnace type thing. This page is showcasing some of the pieces, such as my Tree of Life, which is a necklace design that I came up with. Most everything here is original, my dragonfly motif, and my Art Nouveau piece. This is the next one. So this is kind of the process. I roll out this clay and I get these wonderful stamps and I stamp it. And then I take like a cookie cutter to kind of control the shape and the size. So it's usually an oval or a round. And I consistently cut all these different shapes out, let them dry. So you can see here it's a little bit wet and here it's starting to dry out. Then I go through this major sanding process and I sand it all down, let it go for about the next day, put it in, take it over to the Art League where they have many kilns. And it takes like 4 days for them to go through this process of putting it through this first initial step of going through a kiln. Then it comes out and I basically get to sand it again and then glaze it with these special glaze colors. This one here is like a reddish color. And actually when it turns out more like black, coppers, and teals. So you don't always know what you're gonna get. The process in the big furnace is where he gets it up to a very high temperature and heat, takes it out with prongs. And when you see the actual pieces, they're like fiery hot, like solid fire. And I actually shred newspaper up and fill a garbage can, so to speak. He takes the fiery hot pieces and he puts it in the garbage can. And I kind of put the lid over it and it starts smothering. It's pretty disgusting. I come home smelling terrible. But then we take the lid off and voila, there's all these pieces in there that look like charred pieces. Then we go and we hose them all off and oh my God, they're starting to come to life. And there's no two that are ever the same. So I constantly I want it just like the sample. Well, it's never going to happen. It's the same glaze. It's the same clay. I fired it on the same day, but this newspaper had ink on it. This one had color on it. That fire did that. And it's different. So it's kind of fun. So this is the guy that I'm talking about. His name is Steve, and he works at this Art League with me. And this is his process here. This is kind of a special one down here. He designed just for me to do my little cabochon pieces, because most of the time his piece is like really, really tall and he puts a bunch of vases in it. And then this is just showing how hot and fiery red that actually gets. Quite a process, and he's quite a gem. Then when we get these pieces out, we get voila, all these different kind of pieces. So these are some of the round ones that I love to create. I first started out with heart-shaped ones. I thought those were fun. And then I came up with a lot of these different designs, which is like my Art Nouveau gal and the Tree of Life, and then the initials. And when you see some of my pieces in the trunk show, you'll see where some of these designs, how I've used them and whatnot. But I actually have a little bit of that here too. Okay, so this is one that I was just in the starting process of making a heart. Sherry Serafini does something very, very similar to this, and probably influenced me a little bit. So credit should go where credit is due. I just thought it was a cool process. But then I went on and started doing some of my own things. This one I called Anchors Away. This one has a funny story. When I do the Embroidery Guild for America, I actually, they have themes and stuff, and they take proposals for me to teach. And this was one that was out in Texas, and the theme of it was called Blue Bonnets or something. No, Boots and Blue Bonnets was their theme. So me being what I am, I'm like, oh, bonnets, I got to find something with bonnets. So I found this lady with a bonnet hat and decided to do a mold and do some beadwork around her, made a necklace. And then I made a couple of other pieces too, just for a proposal to see if I could teach for them. And lo and behold, some of my students at one of the bead stores said, Barbara, don't you know what a blue bonnet is? And I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, it's the state flower of Texas. It has nothing to do with a bonnet on somebody's hat. So it's like, oh, okay, well, I made a pretty piece anyway. And so this one was a seashell kind of one. And let's see, then these are a little bit more mega. So this one, and this one was all done for one of those Toho challenges. So this one got so popular that I started teaching classes off of it. So I love doing the challenges. Sometimes it goes further than just the challenge. In this one, just here is a heart raku. This one is a frog on a lily pad. This one's the dragonfly. And this is a version of that Art Nouveau gal. And then this is just another one showing the Art Nouveau, the dragonfly, and the tree of life. So we can stop the share on that one. So does anyone have any questions at this point? And if you do, you got to unmute.
So it takes how many days to make a piece? It sounds like almost like it's a week-long process.
It pretty much is. I dropped off a big tray of raku last week on Monday, and she said, oh, I'll get to this right away to put it in. So I came back on Friday and she said, oh, it's not going to be out till Monday. I just put it in. So that's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So that's 3 days. So it wasn't going to be so. And that's just the first firing. Then I get to take it home and glaze it and bring it back again. So yeah, but I have some new exciting pieces that are in the process of being glazed right now. Some of them have a mermaid theme because I'm on a mermaid roll all of a sudden. So that's kind of fun.
They're magical. Oh my gosh. Anybody have any questions? Please unmute. It says, what kind of clay are you using? Earthenware, porcelain, or stoneware?
Okay, so he specifically calls it Raku clay, R-A-K-U, and it is specifically Raku glaze that I use on it. So it's not porcelain, it's not. Every once in a while on that dragonfly necklace, I sometimes take a little bit of PMC on my finger, and the last step right before I fire it, I'll rub it right on the top of it and it'll give it a little glisten. So that's kind of a new trick that I've been playing with that gives it a little extra sparkle. And then I've got another one I did that I didn't focus on. This one. Let's see if I can switch to the camera and show you a piece that I designed there. Share screen.
Here. I just made you a co-host, so then maybe you can do your advanced sharing. Sorry.
That's okay. Let me try that again. And if not, we'll do it another way. Let's see. Share.
Usually it's in the advanced sharing that you
Gotcha. Thank you. Advanced and content from second camera, right? Share. There we go. Okay. Not quite.
Ooh,
wow.
So this was a necklace here that they did a big write-up on me, and they wanted to me to come up with a design that would be free to everyone. So I did the Cellini spiral. And then I thought that was kind of boring. So I made this Raku piece, which is just a beaded bead, but it has to be big enough to go around any type of a rope. So it makes making a rope a little bit more interesting. So that became pretty popular. It was in a magazine for the Embroidery Guild. So these are all different kinds of beaded beads. They're a little bit harder to do because if I put them on a tray and the glaze is on that tray, it'll stick to it. So basically almost have to do like a rack where you can put this through. If you get no glaze on the center of all the work is basically black because you don't want it to stick to the rod. So these are some skewers of beads. And you can see each one is different colors. This one's a famous one with the aqua and copper. It's called Wing Dingy. There's a black glaze, there's turquoise, there's lavender, there's all different colors, but I honestly never know what I'm going to get. The last time I went in, I just got a whole bunch of glaze and brought it home. And he said, don't you want to write down what it is? And I said, no, you can tell me what it is when I'm done, because it doesn't matter. This one is some more pieces.
Wow.
So I love faces. I think that faces can make incredible things to bead around for cabochons. And like I said, I like to kind of control my muse if I can, because as soon as I find something I love and they discontinue it, it kind of throws an entire design process out the window. So these I call Art Nouveau pieces. I'm being an interior designer, I kind of like that.
And so those are different glazes on different ones, and they just came up.
Yeah, I mean, I use the same mold, you know, like this one is like a turquoise one. This one is wing dingy. And then all of a sudden, this one got some copper flashing going on. This one is like a blacky bronze. And if I go back and I try to make the same one, forget about it. I can't get it, you know, so it's like, So those are some other ones. And then this is kind of a special one I did was Christmas ones. You know, why not put, and I did Halloween too, but it's too late for Halloween now.
I don't think it's ever too late for Halloween.
Well, that's probably one of my favorite holidays, but anyway, so this one has, it's all about poinsettias and whatnot. I can pull that up.
Oh, there you go.
Automatic focus, but it's not doing it quite right. But anyways, that's another one.
Barbara,
Yes,
are your pieces all to be embroidered around, or do you ever make holes in them to make them for pendants?
Okay, so I have some of those downstairs. I don't put holes in them because I buy them and they have the holes in them, and then I have to fill them with a crystal or a pearl or something like that. Let's see, stop the share. But sometimes you can put a glue-on bail on the back of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, if you don't want to embroider around them.
Yeah, and I have done that for, you know, just a quickie kind of thing. So usually that glue-on bail works out pretty well as far as that goes.
How long have you been teaching and working with the Embroiderers Guild?
Let's see. Lived in this new house 10 years, and I did it before that. So I'm going to say about maybe 11 years.
Okay. And is this through the Florida chapter or?
So that story started, I have a really good friend that is a beading friend, and she said that the Embroidery Guild was coming to Naples, Florida, and I didn't know what she was talking about. Mm-hmm. And she said, why don't you come and why don't you do teacher showcase with me? And I said, oh, okay. So I went there just for teacher showcase, and I put my cards on the table and I threw my teaching things out there, and people came around and talked and took my cards. Well, my first embroidery gig was going to Bermuda. They hired me, and I got on a plane and stayed in a home that used to be a girls' school, so it was a specialty place, and it was incredible. And that was like the last year that they actually were part of the Embroidery Guild. So I got kind of lucky doing that. And I just love it. I mean, I'll travel out to Texas. I've been to, I've done I didn't do New York, but I did the last 3 years prior of nationals. And then I've done regionals, which regionals I've done in Texas a couple of times, Florida, of course. My first Zoom that I did a teaching class was for the Midwest Society. And you have one gal, Jane, that's part of your group there.
Yep.
She was
the reason I'm asking is I did the regional one in June this year, and Jane asked me to be part of it, obviously, because she knows me from here. And I just had a great time. I would really love to do fun. That again and the national. So I gotta get off my butt here and do something.
It's a totally different world, and I do enjoy it a lot. You know,
Yeah.
there's just a little niche for us beaders because there's more. It's more about embroidery and stump work and all kinds of stuff. But
Yeah.
there's a little niche, and there's usually like nationals might have a couple of bead teachers. So.
Well, I was surprised that I even had anybody interested. My specialty is kumihimo, and so I was really surprised that they even asked me. And I had quite a few students sign up, so that was fun.
Yeah, the one thing that's kind of nice is they're open to all levels. You know, they want beginners, they want intermediate, they want everything. And when you find certain regions, they have a lot of beaders. Texas, for one, has a lot of beaders, so. That's probably why I've gone back there. And then when I went to nationals, I learned all kinds of stuff. So my latest venue is through the Embroidery Guild. I'm trying to get my master's in beading. And so I went to Chicago Nationals. That was before I knew about it, but I went there and my students were like, you got to go see the table with the national, the masters in beading. And I'm like, masters in beading? They do it in beading too? Because I knew they did it in stump work and gold work and all these other things. So I went and I saw the table and I'm like, I could do this. How do I do this? Yeah. And so it was like, then I went and taught in North Carolina. And that's when the president was there and she had just finished her master's program and said it could take up to like 7 years. And I'm like, oh, no, we're not doing anything that's going to take that long. So I started it. The first thing I had to do was a tapestry, and I had to do it in either square stitch or loom stitch. So I did the tapestry, and then I knew I was going to Minnesota. So I spend my summers up there in Minnesota, and I spend my winters here in Florida. And so I said, can I know what the second step is? Because I want to have something to work on while I'm in Minnesota. So they said the second step was herringbone. And I had these requirements, certain sizes and all that. So I got the requirements. I was so excited. I pulled the beads and I finished it before I left. I said, can I submit 2 instead of just the 1 and give me the 3rd one for what I'm doing in Minnesota? She's like, oh, I don't think so. And I don't think so. Well, let me check. And so she checks and she says, yeah, you can do that. And so I'm in Minnesota and she says, guess what? You passed both parts. And I'm like, okay, there's 4 years done. So it's, I mean, I love it. And so whenever I get something, I have very focused energy where I can only work on one thing at a time. And I've got to work on that no matter what. So sometimes that's a blessing and sometimes that's a curse. So yeah, either way.
Well, your work is just beautiful.
Thank you.
I love it.
Thank you. If you want to see any of those pieces up close and personal, if you can see behind me, I have a little backdrop.
Well, Roberta would like you to start with the one you're wearing.
Oh, this was, okay. So this one was a class and this is bead embroidery. So I love bead embroidery. That's probably my favorite. Although I think that they like things that are done in certain stitches more than the embroidery. But this one is done on a piece of lace. And so I actually it's mostly 15s and crystals, and I like teeny tiny things. So I took a piece of lace and I basically did all the beadwork on it. Then I backed it just as you would with any other type of embroidered piece. And this was actually taught here in the state of Florida. I wore it to one of my embroidery meetings and they were oohing and awing about it and said, oh, can you teach that? So I did. So that was a class. So I have lots of classes. And so I could probably show you some of my classes. You want to see that? Some of the classes? Let me see if I can find that share screen. We'll do it again. I have a thing on that. And I have to have it open or it'll go to the other one. Hold on 1 second. Close that one. Oh, all these neat things.
I Googled you and found your Flickr page here.
Oh my God, that's an old one.
It's gorgeous. Oh,
I don't even remember what's on that one. Okay, we don't want that one. We did that one already. Go back. Not the computer audio, back to basic and presentation. Sorry, I have to talk myself through it. So these are some of my newest ones. And of course I have older ones too that I still teach, but this one is a lariat. So that's a class that I'm going to be teaching in Boston next year because they selected it, and then a couple other places. So it's beading around, and that's peyote, beading around a form and then doing this tassel work and then a rope. And this one I call Andromeda. This one is Egyptian influence. This is my newest one, my mermaid one. So I got so excited about that. I found a mermaid cabochon, and I bought a whole bunch of them to make kits from. And I said, oh, I'm going to do some Raku ones too. So that's on my Raku plate coming out. So I'll be doing it again in Raku. This one is a new one, and it's my black orchid. That's also going to be taught in Boston. And then this bracelet is like a one-day easy class. That's in Boston. And these are some other ones. And this is another new one. Larkspur, radiance on the earrings. That's a one. So I try to get 1-day classes, 2-day classes, 3-day classes. And of course, when Bead and Button was around, anything you designed had to be done in 1 day. So, and so I've taught it Bead and Button twice. Okay, so we can stop sharing this one. There we go. So those are just some of the newer classes that I have coming out. So kind of mentioned to Rochelle that, you know, maybe next summer I can get my act together and get organized. And maybe if there's enough interest, I could actually teach a class up there. Because I pretty much spend June through August up there for sure. And I found a couple ladies that took me to the bead store twice. I taught, my boyfriend lives up there, and he has this condo on the lake. So last summer I got a group of the ladies that live there and started teaching them. And so then they were like, oh, we can go to the bead store. We can go see Bobby Bead. And I'm like, okay, let's go. I'll bring my Toho challenge pieces with me. So that was a great event. So we no sooner did it once, and then they wanted to go back again. So got some more girls addicted.
Yep, actually one of them came down again all by herself too.
She's really good. God, she learned so
fast.
Gosh,
she beads. She showed me some of her stuff, and it was like great.
Really fast.
So if you did it next summer, you could maybe do some live in person here at Bobby Bead, and then we could Zoom from our studio to others who weren't around here. So if you guys are interested, you know, we can totally start the chat through our group of members and see if we could work on that, because we could get, you know, probably 4 to 6 students back here with Barb besides our Zoom equipment for others. So I don't know how many you'd like to teach, but that's something that
as long as I'm organized before I leave here, because this is Homestead. So this is where I have to pull all my goods and fit it in his truck to get up there. And then I got what I got. So, but I do have a lot of kits, and I usually take all my kits with me because I do travel from Minnesota to different venues too, and then come back there. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, please show us some more stuff up and close. Yeah.
Okay.
Your stuff is so cool.
I can do it 2 ways. I can do it on that share screen with the PowerPoint, or I can do it with the camera. The camera is the real thing, and the PowerPoint is the picture.
Whichever you like.
All right, let's try the. Oh, I got to first open it up. I keep forgetting that part. Teacher. This one I called my personal best. So we'll see all my goodies. Okay, it's open. Sure. Now move it over so we can see it. Now, how did it go up? Are you seeing it straight or is it off?
It's kind of on the half center,
Okay, so let's
but
stop it.
maybe,
Maybe because it's like that right now, we need to put it in the center. Okay.
we're artisans, we're not computer technicians. Come on.
No, I know. It's like, okay, this one's in front, that one's in back. Share the screen. Okay. Let's see if it works this time. Bam.
Oh,
Okay.
there it is.
I can move it up. Yay. So this is what I call my personal best. I kind of put this together. So these pieces I designed, and they were fortunate to get on display with Bead Dreams up at Bead and Button. And so the very last year this was on display, my first pair of spats. My second pair are now at the museum up in Maine. And this was the first time I was showcased, which was my Angels in the Garden, which has feathery wings. So that's kind of like the over the top designing kind of piece. Which
Have you
most
worn it before?
Huh?
Have you worn that design before?
I haven't worn the necklace, but I have worn the spats many times. When I get dressed up and I have like this little fairy skirt, I wear this these spats, and so that I do. Yeah. And this is another personal best. So this is a model that would that modeled my pieces. So this is a Mago over the top piece, and this is a Mago over the top piece. I call them statement necklaces. I mean, ideally, I think they go great on a t-shirt with jeans, but she definitely dressed up for it. And then these are some other pieces, all statement type necklaces. So it's showcasing. It shows that I really love to do the bead embroidery.
So does your Raku piece then, is that the center inspiration of how, like, say one of those gets started?
Absolutely. Absolutely. A lot of times it is my main focal piece. Yeah. These are the spats that are up at in the museum. So that was Wings and Stings was the theme. And so this is a bee, and there's a dragonfly, and there's a beetle, and there's the dragonfly again. So that I was very fortunate and honored to be part of their collaboration and on display there. So that's why
I love those. I love your spats.
they were just so fun. And then that was just my focal point there was this ribbon was an antique piece of like old ribbon and cording and whatnot. And I thought, oh my God, that's gorgeous. And it kind of derived the color scheme at the same time. I tend to like these, love gray. And so whenever I can add unusual colors with it, I just think it's fun to play with. This is another one. So belonging to this art league, I also do challenges with them. And at first, when I started up with them, it was like beadwork and jewelry was not art. So I had this big mission to convince them that it is art and it is an art form. So they had this theme like, this was like nature, and so I had that as a cranberry bog, and that's my interpretation of art to wear. This one is my naked ladies, but they're naked on the back, but they're like, African ladies, and it's done in peyote, and then it's embellished. This was last year's Toho challenge, or this year, 22. We're not done with it yet. And then this is one of those wrap type bracelets, and that has a little Egyptian influence. And this was when I was a featured designer for Toho. So that's a cabochon in the middle, and then all the beadwork, which again had some lace involved in that one.
And so Roberta had a question about that lace work.
Oh, go ahead.
Do you base the lace to something to make it less fragile while working on it, or what?
Actually, no, I really did work on it as fragile as it was. And then when it was completed, I put the backing on it. So it's not 2 layers, because if I put it on another layer, all the perforations in the holes would show the substrate, you know, the interfacing. So that's probably why I used 15s for the dominance of it, and just really tiny needles and a lot of patience, and just 1 line of backstitch on each and every lace particle.
Wow.
Yeah, I'd say it was tedious. to say the least. And then this was kind of a purse gallery. This one is all done in beads, both sides. So that's a peyote stitch in the round. And then this is back to my embroidery work. This was like a mermaid. And this was a few years ago. And then this one was another Toho challenge. And then this is a little cosmetic box.
The first necklace in your personal best, is that feathers on the edges of it?
This one?
No, the first
one.
This one here. Yes, this is definitely, it's on the first page of my website. I need to update my website, but yeah, this is real feathers.
Okay.
And I did this piece specifically with trying to be involved in the Bead and Button Bead Dreams. So it was all about the competition of doing that. And so were the spats, you know, I just, to get into those things, you really had to do something that was way over the top. It's not always necessarily wearable. It's something that is definitely an artistic value to it.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Okay.
I'm sure. Oh, I'm sorry, it wasn't giving me the thing. I apologize. There you go. All right. And so,
so I can take and can try to figure out how to put the camera on and do that with the phone if you want.
Yeah, that was a great
when
you did it the other day. So
yeah, I think I can. I just have patience and we'll get through it. Airplay. Pull it down. Down. Screen mirroring. Poising from the rainy Canada. What the heck is that? Huh? That was a strange one. I might not be able to do it. It's not working. It says POSEING from rainy Canada. Camera, no, it's supposed to be screen sharing. Let me try it again. Yay, I think I got it. Share. Maybe. Screen mirroring. I did that already. There it is. The camera. Ta-da! So this is the one that was live. Can you see that?
mm-hmm.
So that's my Art Nouveau goddess, and that's the real one in person. And then using the same exact cabochon, but of course a different color, is this one. So the focal point is actually the same thing. It's the Art Nouveau girl, but it came out a little differently on that one. And so those both were in Raku. And this one is the dragonfly. This one is one that I've taught before called the pansy. This one is another combination bead embroidery with a spiral rope. And then if you didn't like the necklace, I have it in a bracelet form. And they're pretty addictive because the dragonflies are kind of fun to make. And I will have kits on those. This one I call Initially Me. And of course it has an initial B because that's my name, B, Barbara.
Did you make the whole alphabet of beads or just a
I did. And then this one is Enchanted Gardens. It has one with gold lace, which is vintage, and one with this mauve colored tie-dye ultra suede, which I bought all I could find. This one's called Art to Wear. And it's got a lot of John Waterhouse kind of images. And then I do the bead embroidery around them. So that's another one there. Again, that's John Waterhouse. And I'll have kits on those for the kids. All 4 of those. I think a bunch of the ones that I've just shown here. This one I taught at, I believe it was in Chicago at Regionals. And that one's called the Black Orchid. And that was a successful class of bead embroidery. And I thought I would get really smart because one of the gals that was in my class is the faculty for the Boston for Nationals. So what did I design for Nationals? I designed the Black Orchid necklace. And guess what got picked? I was kind of, I was just, so that's the one that I'm doing in Boston next year for a class. And that bracelet and this necklace. And this one's a current class. And those are the Radiance earrings. They're kind of like a brick stitch. And the moth type thing, more bead embroidery. This one I've taught both at Bead and Button and at Embroidery Guild. It's called Bohemian Sampler. And it's kind of a repertoire. When I saw that they do all those samplers, I thought, well, we could do beadwork of samplers. So there's peyote stitch, 2-drop stitch, herringbone, square stitch. So it's all different stitches done in a long style necklace. This one is probably my most successful and my best class to date. That same thinking process went on in my head to do a repertoire of different beading stitches. So it is an infinity style necklace, about 78-inch length on the long one and 18-inch length on the short one. That you wrap the long one around several times like an infinity scarf. And then it's a repertoire of all the different stitches I could come up with, all the different ropes that I thought were out there. So there's right angle weave, there's a lot of different spirals, there's herringbone, there's a mixture of beads. So that one was done in gray. At the time I offered it in 4 colors. This one is like a mauve color, mauve and gray. And I sold out on the black and I sold out on the ivory, but I am going to remake it because it's that popular and it's that well received. It's one of those necklaces you go to all the time to wear, so it's been very successful. This one is the Tree of Life, which is a Raku piece. And the very same style I did with Initial for Initial Me. And you notice how it's got that real long thing to it. I will show you how it's worn. It's worn in a really unique way, but I'll do that when we get live again. This one was one for Bobby Bead for Toho Beads, which you might have seen it on display at the store if you were lucky to get there. This one is leather and lace, which take leather pieces and I actually cut them in one of those die machines and then do all this bead embroidery around it. So this one is leather, it has beadwork, it has ribbons. My phone just fell. So it has ribbons, it has leather, it has a lot of little tiny beads. And that one's another one, seashells. And then, and then here's my latest and greatest. This one I just finished. Mermaid one. And these were my Egyptian ones that are similar to a necklace that I'm teaching, but I just love Egyptian too, so I go crazy with that. And this one is Andromeda, which is several different pieces that I join with like a right angle weave. So it makes it totally wearable because it's custom sized. I find these statement necklaces fit a lot of small necks, and then I have ladies that have bigger necks and they're like, well, it doesn't fit me. So I designed this piece specifically to conquer that by making smaller pieces that fit together. And it has this ribbon setup that we can custom cut to kind of adjust for length. And then we make the back just as pretty as the front by beading around the piece back there too. And that's mostly labradorite, which is one of my favorite gemstones. I think that it's just a beautiful gray, blue, greenish kind of color. And then this was the one I was talking about. That's my little tapestry that I did for my master's. So it's a little Chinese pagoda. So that's all done in square stitch, which replicates the loom. And this one was my herringbone piece. And currently they're reviewing my peyote. I just turned that in. And I think that's probably, I mean, I could get up on ladders and show you more, but I think that's enough. Stop sharing. So that's all in my little world here in this room in my house, along with my bead stuff. But I have a couple of other shelves and up high. It's just I'm surrounded in beadwork.
What a beautiful environment to be surrounded by.
Yeah. I knew that. It kind of spoiled. Yeah. Yeah. Paulette? Yes.
Hi, Barbara. I went to the Bead and Button, and I actually bought one of those kits with the multiple ropes. And I think you also had a Raku piece.
Yeah.
So I bought that too. So
yes.
I'm so excited.
Oh, good.
So,
good. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you.
I love your Raku.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I enjoy making that too. I think it's a lot of fun.
And that Egyptian piece is gorgeous. I mean, all your pieces would be fun to do a class with any of those.
Oh, thank you. That was a newer one. It has not been accepted to be taught anywhere. So I haven't really taught that one yet. So I think I did design that up in Minnesota. So yeah, I love coming up there too, because I get the quiet time and I don't get all, I get to design up there. So I love that.
And so is something like that a 1-day class, 2-day class? What kind of thing, how long would that be to teach that kind of thing?
When I give it off to the Embroidery Guild, I usually put that one down as a 2-day class. If I had to, like say I was doing a bead and button thing, I could do a whirlwind fast thing, but you just don't get as much out of it. You get more of a show as to how to do it without you being able to actually do part. And I find that it's better if you can touch on each part of a piece and then you really know how to go home and do it. But yeah, I mean, I can come for 2 days, or we could do it in 1 day. And like I said, just do a portion of it and then have homework or do pre-work, either way. I've done I did one class for Bead and Button where I had to do pre-work. That one slide that I showed that had the ladies on it with the African ladies. There was the base is done in peyote, and had I not do pre-work, they would have spent the entire day just doing the flat peyote work, and that would have been a really boring class. So I said, you do the pre-work and then you come in and we'll dress the ladies up and do the herringbone sides, and that it just made it a better class. So yeah, anything we show interest in. That's why I'm trying to show you a repertoire of everything, because if there's enough interest, we'll just make a kit and we'll do it.
Right. So yeah, so if you guys want to just remember what you saw and go, oh my gosh, I want this one, let's do that one, and we'll
True. Yes.
What is the name of the Embroidery Guild? Because that's something new to me.
That was new to me too. It's the Embroidery Guild of America. And so I've kind of I've gotten a lot of a great reception. I've seen that Marcia DeCoster has taught with them recently, and that Amy, I don't know her name, Amy something, where she does the beadwork with the cording and stuff. She does a lot of beadwork with them. Cool. But yeah, it's a good outlet, because they also teach other things that sometimes you can develop, especially with bead embroidery, like they do ribbon work and they do stump work, and it gets your mind going, like, how can I do stump work with beads, or how can I do, so all things are meant to be mixed, and that's just another part of art. You know, if you can kind of mix all the elements together, you come up with some of your own original pieces. So,
and the ability to mix them all in is what has kept me interested in beading, because there's always something new. You know, I've done crafts all my life, but I never stuck with them till I found beading. Yeah. And it looks like you must have survived the hurricane.
Yes, I'm honestly one of the really, really I feel so guilty because I just go a few blocks down the street and I see stuff piled up sky high, and it's just, there's a lot. I have like Monday afternoons, I teach a class at the Art League, and one of the gals lost her home. And you want to talk about a nice, tight group of gals. The one gal, her husband was working up in Georgia. She gave up her home to this lady that lost her home. And she said, you know what, I'm just going to stay in Georgia. You stay there until January and try to work things out. So she's got FEMA coming with a trailer, and we don't know how long that's going to take. And she lost everything. I mean, so all of us put together a huge entourage of beads for her. You know, we didn't want her, you know, to go without that. She said she had to try to clean the beads, and that there's some were slimy. And I said, don't even bother. We'll get you some new beads. It's just, you know, forget that. And so it's just a warm group that so giving. And like I said, I go home, I feel really guilty. I never lost power. I think I'm on a grid where I'm near a high school, and they say that sometimes that's where they have to put shelters up. So that's usually a protected area. So I guess I was fortunate to live near that. But yeah, very, very fortunate. I think in the middle of the night, or I heard one tree hit our roof and it broke a couple of tiles. That's about it.
Well, we're glad you survived.
Yeah.
to give us this wonderful presentation, and we're looking forward to seeing you this summer.
Oh, that sounds great. Well, don't miss out on this trunk show. I'm putting together some stuff for that too. And I have lots of kits if you can do kits. And if not, I'm always available via Zoom or via email or whatever, you know. If you have any questions about any of my pieces at all, feel free to contact me with my through email or even my website. And I think they're going to put that up for you so that you have that information.
Well, let's, what is it? Hannah normally does all that, and she
okay.
in bad weather. So your website is what?
My
Beaded Treasures by Barbara.
Beaded Treasures by Barbara. Yeah. And let's see what else. And then my email is B as in Barbara, J as in Jean, E as in Ellis, 213 at Comcast.net.
Wait a minute. I typed that wrong.
Okay.
Do you have the chat up?
I'm going to put it up right now. Okay.
Thanks.
It's BJE213 at Comcast.net. And my website is www.//beaded treasures by Barbara.
Did they come up?
I don't see it. You don't see it? I wonder why. I typed it.
Typed it to everyone.
Let's see. I have with the dots, it just says copy. Copy
in the chat.
Yeah, I typed it in the chat. Who can see your messages?
I can see your message, but it might have been because I sent you a direct one.
I was going to say, I send it back to one person directly versus to everyone.
Okay, to
the very first is everyone
in the meeting. Gotcha. Every once in a while I get stumped with this, but I usually can get through it. Okay, so. And you sent me a direct message, huh?
Yeah, I was just asking about what kind of rope was with the black orchid. That was really pretty.
So I call that a variation of herringbone, which is in my repertoire of, it's called the Turkish sampler with the infinity. So it's basically a version of herringbone that uses 11s and 8s, and I throw a crystal in every once in a while.
Okay. Oh, so pretty.
Yeah, I think I was kind of smart on that one. I feel like a smart ass, excuse me. First, the lady was in my class for that cuff, and I'm like, oh, and I know she's faculty. So if I do another black orchid, maybe I'll get in. And I think that might add something to it. You can never outsmart them, though. I just designed the mermaid one, and it's for a mermaid, a proposal for Texas for mermaid, and because San Marcos is the capital, mermaid capital. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do a statement piece with a mermaid. And 9 times out of 10, they don't pick those pieces. They pick something that you've done 10 years ago. You know, they never pick what you're doing right now. So you never know.
You need to put up your email again.
I'm typing it right now. Sorry.
Thank you.
BJE213@Comcast.
Barbara, I have a question with regards to your Turkish Delight kit.
So
looking at it on your website, it's absolutely beautiful. Saw it in there, but I like seeing it on my phone even better. And so you have 2 color choices that are coming down on your drop down, purple haze and midnight clouds.
Correct.
But there's 3 pictures of different colors. I want to make sure that that midnight cloud isn't the.
So midnight clouds is the 2 gray versions, and I had 2 different students make it up, and they used their beads differently, and that's why it shows up differently. So you basically get 2 main colors and 2 main colors, one in an 11, one in a 15, and you can use them interchangeably. You try to use them so that you use all the beads in the kit. In my instructions, I say the main bead and the accent bead, but you can flip-flop them and use the accent bead as the main.
Sure.
And that's exactly what happens. So I love it when things are a little bit different, you know, and even when I teach classes, I might have 10 different colorways going at once because I get too bored if I see the same color and everyone's doing it. It just drives me nuts. So maybe that's why Raku really does appeal to me, because
surprise
a kind pieces, you know. Yeah. So that Turkish Delight I'll have at the trunk show for sure, in those 2 colors. And quite a few of the other ones that I showed too. I have some of those art to wear. And I have some presentations all ready for that. So, and we can see them. I'll probably leave my display up, so we'll look at them again the same kind of way with the camera. Maybe I'll be better at it then. Took me a little while to get that one. I don't know what I did wrong. It had some kind of thing in Canada. Yes, Paulette.
What the trunk show? I might have missed that. Where's the trunk show? Or...
The trunk show is going to be another Zoom, and it's going to be on the 19th.
For Let's Bead Live.
Oh, that one. Okay, I was thinking it was a different one. I was thinking she was doing another one. Sorry about that. Yeah, I know about the Let's Bead Live.
Right. So, I mean, let's shop live. You know, it's another beading hobby is shopping for beads and supplies. And so that's why we want to incorporate into our Saturday events all kinds of fun things for everyone. And so, so from 2 to 3 p.m. Central Time, that would be 3 to 4 Eastern Time and noon to 1 Pacific Time is when her show will be. We have Madison Holler doing Photographing Your Jewelry first, and then Barbara Ellis will be doing the trunk show right after.
What time you got me slotted for? I gotta change it.
We've got you from 2 to 3, and we got Maddie up first.
Okay. I'm just writing it down because I had 11:45 to 12:45. So
well, that's when we sign in. That's when we sign in, and just make sure it's all ready, and we'll introduce you, and then you can pop out for an hour and come back.
Gotcha. Perfect. Okay, that works.
Yeah, so it's a 2-hour show, and we try to divide it up so that we get all kinds of things going on for everybody.
Sounds good.
And so there was one other question, was how long did it take you to make the tapestry?
Okay, so they gave me that assignment. So they only judge in November and May. That's the only time at all. And so I signed up for it and I started in November and I gave it to them in May. So it didn't take quite that long, but it did take a long time. I have to say square stitch is one of my slowest stitches. And I don't like the loom at all because you have to tie in too many stitches. And so I would prefer to do a square stitch in my hand. And I've done some bracelets like that. But I got to say, doing a tapestry in square stitch was a major thing. Yeah, it was like if I didn't do 1 row a day, I would have never done it.
Wow.
So it sat on my dining table and I made myself do 1 row a day. That was my goal.
It's like 8 inches by 8 inches, or does it look bigger than that? It was hard to kind of.
I was so lucky that I found this anthropology picture frame that was so cool, because that's part of the judging too. So I had to have it so many inches wide, so many inches long. And then I had to do an undulating thing on the side. So I had to totally redraw that out. So I drew this thing. So it had to do that on the sides.
Wow.
Fringe was optional. Shading was important. And then once you framed it, it couldn't be any bigger than this. So I hit every single dimension. I hit this dimension. I hit this dimension. This, like I'm really not that mechanical and mathematic, but I did it for this because they are. And wouldn't you know what they came back with? We could see a couple of threads, so your burner didn't burn. And I was like, are you kidding me? I mean, I had my magnifier up like that, and I'm like, I can't find any more threads. But it still passed, so I'm good. Yeah. It was. What was that?
Could you hold it up so we can see the whole picture? Could you hold it up so we could see the whole picture, please?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
That's gorgeous.
I have a tendency, my favorite color scheme is kind of like mauves and grays. So you'll see that that's kind of a dominance in my work. I tend to do shaded things that are a little bit muted. I like sophisticated colors. But that's not to say that I can't do bright colors, because the Art League had me do competition about color, and I'm like, oh my God, what does this mean? And so I did rainbow colors. I did red, yellow, green, blue, just right off of the primary colors, put it on display for their event, and it sold that night. So I'm like, you should never have rules, and you should never say you only like one thing, because the minute you go outside of your box is when you do well. So, I guess that
frame is very cool too.
And I could put it in the frame and then they wouldn't have their fingers all over it. And, I mean, I know they opened it and they looked at it, but at least it was somewhat protected. So yeah, I was excited to be able to, because I have other tapestries that I've done and I put them on little dowel rods and whatnot. When I first started beading, I was asked to do some tapestries for Sig Wine Evans out of California. So I was one of her bead, she called it a bead fairy, and I would do the bead work for her, and then she would write up the magazines and sell the patterns and whatnot. And so I've done 1, 2, 3, 4 tapestries, I think, for her. So I love doing that too, but I think I found my little niche with bead embroidery. I tend to like that. I think because it's a little bit more artistic and it's a little bit more forgiving. If you miss a stitch on peyote, you got to rip it out and go back. If you miss a stitch in bead embroidery, you can pretty much go back and stitch it in. So
Anita wants to know if you just sell patterns or if it's all kits.
So when I first started in this business, I have like 100 patterns on bead-patterns.com. So I used to sell just patterns. And so those are some of my oldest things. And you can go there and take a peek. I'm pretty sure they still have me there. www.bead-patterns.com or Sova Enterprises. So I did sell just my patterns there. And when I first started doing things, they had competitions. I think I'm competition driven. And so they had these competitions and I would enter them. And I entered this one that was called Something for Him. So I made a Marine tapestry. My ex-husband was in the Marines. I did a tapestry for Sig, and she said I could use it to enter it. And somehow I won best of show in the first and second place. And then they asked me, could you write a pattern? And I said, I don't know how to do that. And so the lady that runs the place, which is Rita Sova, kind of took me under her wings and kind of helped me learn how to write a pattern. And then Sig was a real sweetheart too. And she got me introduced into some software. Unfortunately, they don't make it anymore, called Beadscape. And so I did some designing on that. And then before you know it, I started selling patterns on this Sova Enterprises. But that only lasted so long and I stopped doing it and I started doing other things. But I think some of my things are there. So I mostly put together kits, but I will sell some of my instructions separately too. So just ask me, just reach out, send me an email. I'll probably give in.
Well, your Raku is so beautiful. I am so excited for the trunk show in 2 weeks and look forward to, being able to purchase some of your new stuff from far away and kick myself for not doing it at Bead and Button years ago,
I know. There's something new going on there too. I have to try to enter to do that, but there's some kind of bead show going back in that same building.
There is, and it is part of the one we did in Lancaster. It's this
the Bead Fest. Yeah.
Bead Fest, and so it's the week before, and they've added a couple locations, right, Maggie? Besides Milwaukee, they've got somewhere in Arizona. I think it's Mesa, Arizona, they added in October or something. So there's like 4 locations for Bead Fest next year.
That's great. That's great.
So we're investigating and seeing what, because I liked what they did in Pennsylvania and Lancaster. I like the people who put on the show. And
super. That's good to hear. I was supposed to teach there and then something fell through with all that COVID stuff. So I think I will put a proposal out there and see what happens on some of these other ones.
Also talk to, because like Kim Leahy and Leslie Venturosa had a booth there, Agnieszka Watts had a booth there, Diane Dennis had a booth. They were all in the artist section, and so they might have some good feedback too. Maggie and Lisa and Team Toho shared a booth, and the people were just wonderful. We had great make and takes, and Maggie's had people in her classes, and so the excitement was certainly there. So, and at Bead Fest, we felt that here at Twin City Bead Bazaar, people were very excited, to come back. So hopefully they'll have classes next year at Twin City Bead Bazaar, or the Mesa Bead Fest show is the same weekend if they have it again. So if you're in Tucson already, then you could go to Bead Fest. So
there you go.
More shows, the better, right? And so I'm just so excited that you all could join us tonight. And if you have any other questions, please, I put up her email and she's got her website, and she's also put up several other things in the chat. So please stop back in, in 2 weeks, and you can see her again for Let's Bead Live.
Sounds great.
And then the holiday party is coming up, which is December 5th. And so we are very excited for that. We are going to have show and tell. We'd like to see all the wonderful holiday things you're making for people, the new ornaments, the new stars, any fun decorations, or if we didn't see Halloween, you know, we just want to see all your cool stuff. And then Kim Leahy will be teaching us a pattern. It's called Ginkgo Leaf Pendant. And the pattern and the supplies are on umbs.org. So you can download it and get all the supplies in your colorway of choice. And so then we'll be making a pendant for our Monday night holiday party. And you could hang it on your tree if you want, or you could give it away as a present or wear it yourself, you know? So fun stuff for everybody. So put it on your calendar. And if you have any other questions, let us know, message us through the bulletin board, Facebook chat, and remember to spread that around for our membership fundraisers, the 15th through the 20th. And so we want to raise money for UMBS so we can have all kinds of more speakers and teachers and Barbara Ellis next summer, or, you know, give us recommendations for who you want to see, okay? Thank you so much.
Thank
Everyone,
you.
have a wonderful night. I'm going to stop recording before I forget.